I'd like to take a moment to speak with you about BetterHelp, a sponsor of the Katrina Johnson Show. You know, I'm big on inspiring people to live their best lives, but sometimes we need a little more than words of inspiration. When mental health interferes with your daily routine and lifestyle, you need someone to confide in that can help you with sorting through your emotions. That's exactly what BetterHelp is all about. It's professional therapy done securely online and is available to clients worldwide. With BetterHelp, you can get your needs assessed and be matched with your own licensed professional therapist. You can log in to your account anytime and send a message to your therapist. You'll get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions so you won't have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room as with traditional therapy. It's more affordable than traditional offline therapy, and financial aid is available. Remember, living your best life begins with taking care of your mental health. BetterHelp, a sponsor of the Katrina Johnson Show, wants you to start living a happier life today. Visit betterhelp.com/KJ Show. That's BetterHelp, HELP, and join the over 500,000 people taking charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. And here's a special offer for the Katrina Johnson Show listeners. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/KJ Show. Hi there, beautiful soul. Do yourself a favor by taking care of you. My dear friend Laura at Marietta Day Spa in beautiful Marietta, California, is a licensed holistic massage therapist. If you're a local resident looking to recharge, relax, and reconnect with your body, this is your go-to oasis. Be sure to ask for Laura. She's not only my personal massage therapist, but a true expert in holistic wellness with over 19 years of experience in all massage modalities. With years of experience, she has a gift for helping you feel renewed from the inside out. Marietta Day Spa is located at 41885 Ivy Street, Marietta, California. You can call 951-677-8111 and book your session with Laura today. Tell her Katrina from the Katrina Johnson Show sent you, and thank me later. This podcast episode is brought to you by Living Life from Within, How to Get What You Want in Life. It's my uplifting guide full of inspiration to help you transcend life challenges and tap into your inner strength and divine compass. Are you seeking to unlock the abundant blessings awaiting for you? Look no further. Dive into the transformative pages of my book, where you'll learn how I was able to connect with the divine as my ultimate source and how you can do the same. You will not only learn to recognize the whispers of your inner voice, but also harness the power to manifest your deepest desires. Within the pages of my book, you'll be guided towards a deeper understanding of how to align your life with the divine flow of abundance. Let this book be your gateway to a life filled with purpose, fulfillment, and unwavering faith. Get ready to be blessed, informed, inspired, and transformed like never before. Don't miss out on this life-changing opportunity. Purchase your copy, and while you're at it, a copy for someone else you may think benefit from the book as well. Living Life from Within, How to Get What You Want in Life. To purchase your copy, simply click the link in the podcast show notes. Welcome back to another episode of the Katrina Johnson Show, where we have a safe place here for women healing from childhood trauma. And today I have a special guest with me. Her name is Priscilla Quezada, and Priscilla has some information that will inspire you that she is going to offer in this interview. I'm so excited to have her here to support you in your healing journey from trauma. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce Priscilla Quezada, and I hope I didn't mess your name up. All right, Priscilla, thank you for being here. I'm so happy that you took out time to be here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, you said it correctly.
Oh, great, great. I didn't want to mess it up. Why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I would love to. So yeah, my name is Priscilla Quezada. I always like to also say it in Spanish because I come from um Dominican root. So Priscilla Quezada. I am founder of Powerful Authentic Queen, which is a brand empowering women that have been sexually abused and gone through domestic violence to reclaim their power after trauma. And that's what I've been dedicating myself to for the last four, I want to say going on 5 years. And for anybody that personally knows me, knows that I'm just, the word that comes to mind is a hustler at heart. So I'm always involved in other projects, but this one's my main project. It's my baby, my passion, and something I'm deeply passionate for advocating about.
Wow, that's awesome. Something that's very well needed. It's needed, and there's a lot of women out there that could use what your services offer, I'm sure. So thank you for being there to support women in this healing process from trauma. So let's just dive right in. I'm just very eager to get this interview going. So, many women have an issue with speaking about their trauma, so they struggle with it. What helped you find your voice, and what advice would you give to someone who still feels silenced by fear or shame?
Like, good question. Honestly, it takes time because my trauma, the one that impacted me the most was when I was sexually abused as a child. Was around like 5, 6 years old. So I was really young. And I didn't share my story until when did I start? Back early 30s. So it took me a long time too, right? I did stay quiet about it. I never really liked to talk about it or just express that part of my story. And who I am because of shame and all the feelings that come with it, right? So yeah, so then I just noticed patterns, right? I started being in abusive, toxic relationships myself. And it wasn't until I was in several toxic relationships, but it wasn't until like that last toxic relationship that I was like, okay, what is it that about, what to kind of work on to be able to just better attract, relationships of any kind, not only romantic relationships like friendships, and also family dynamics as well, because there is trauma in my family line. So that's when and it was during COVID. So that was like the pivot point for me, that where I was like, okay, I would love to share my story to be able to empower other women. And what helped with that has been all the work that I've done with like therapy and community and resources that have helped me along the way. So I hope that answered your question. I feel like I was long and winded, but
Not at all. No, you truly did answer the question. Yes, because again, I know it's difficult, and a lot of us hang on to these things for years. I can say for myself, I hung on for years as well. My younger years, it was like that feeling of shame, the fear, the just insecurity, just everything that you can think of, that will keep you silenced. But it wasn't until, I was grown as well that I began to open up. And let me just expand on that a little bit, sharing and using your voice to, speak out. What did that do for you? Did you feel a sense, like for me, I felt a sense of like heavy weight coming off. I felt a bit of relief. Did that happen with you as well?
that's good. I'm like, I think that's the first time I've been asked that. Very good question. No, I didn't feel the sense of relief. I felt I was very scared. There was a lot of fear, but also if it felt good, I guess, to release or just share that part of my story. Cause I always try to remember like I'm doing this with good intentions. I'm doing this to hopefully inspire and impact in a positive way any woman that has gone through those experiences, to know that it can get better. But it was with a lot of fear. I remember posting like, "Hey, I created, a website. I have social media. I have a YouTube channel. Go check out my story." And I turned off my phone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I remember being so scared. I was like, "Okay, it's out in the world. I'm turning off my phone because I'm just not ready for like." Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate to that too. I think for me, it was more of personal, like person to person sharing, I think especially in relationships, right? Didn't always do it, didn't do it at the very beginning, but as I matured, that is something I had to share, because I think it was only fair to that other person, right? So in that way, that helped me. But as far as like you say, social media, No, that I would have definitely been like you, I would have said, "Okay, do it and turn off the phone." Because even with what I've been doing since, what, 2019, 2018, 2019 on social media, I started off just inspiring people to live their best lives, posting, positive quotes and things of that sort. And that alone, or just recording a video, that's how I felt, like this, anxiety. And then, just do it. And then, leave the phone alone, just get away
Yeah.
from it. So I understand that, yeah, because I'm by nature, I'm pretty, well, shy. I mean, when I was a kid, I was really shy, but I've really come out of my little shyness box. But I do understand what you're saying about, putting something out there and then, feeling that anxiety. So you did create PAQ, which you said it earlier, stands for what now?
Powerful, authentic queen.
Powerful, Authentic Queen. I love that title, which helps people or women reclaim their power. In your experience, what's the first step a survivor can take when she feels completely disconnected from her own strength?
So the first step, community. Really try to surround yourself and build that community. Have at least that one person that you can go to, that can be that light for you, right? Maybe on your dark, cloudy days, or that can be a reminder of you are worthy. Your voice does matter. You do have light in you, and it deserves to shine brightly. Um, because I know that's what helped me on those moments where I was really low and maybe not feeling motivated to just be here on earth, right? It's just like maybe I'm better off like not being here. Maybe and what helped me through those dark times and even just as I was reclaiming my power was that really being around those people that reminded me of my light and my power and that my voice matters.
Right, right. Community is important. And that is another extension of speaking, right? Sharing and, using your voice in order to relieve yourself of that stress that comes with trauma of that sort. So when you have a community or just even one person to confide in, that goes a long way. And then you begin to find that you're not alone, right?
Yes, 100% agreed. Because you feel very alone in the process.
Mhm, mhm, absolutely, absolutely. So then, I do know a little bit about your story that you grew up in foster care, is that correct?
So I didn't grow up in a foster care. I was in the foster care system for I can't remember exactly because I was still young. I just remember luckily not being super long because my grandmother became my legal guardian. But when I was sexually abused, that caused for my three brothers and myself to be placed in the foster care system. Because we got taken away from our mom at the time. Uh,
Okay.
yeah.
Then were you with your brothers? You all were raised by your grandmother?
No, so even so that one, we were placed in the foster care system together, and then I remember them splitting us up, which I remember when I would start talking about my story, just that part would really like break me. And even as I've continued to do the work, that's where, like my attachment style comes from because I always had beautiful memories of my siblings and and we were, I mean, till this day, luckily we're still very close. So being like taken away from them, that really caused like a lot of pain for me. And I remember just being sad and like, what's happening? Where are they? How come we're not together? And then after that, that's when my grandmother became my legal guardian. But my three brothers, my two youngest brothers went with their grandparents, and then my oldest brother went with his dad.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Was family then.
Yeah. We all were taken in
Okay.
by family. Yeah.
That's a blessing, though. That really is,
Yeah, that it really is, I know.
right?
I
Because a
tell my
lot of
grandmother all the time, I'm like, thank you for being the one to step up and, becoming like a mom, right?
right.
She didn't have to do that, and she did it with a lot of love and sacrifice, so I definitely admire and have a lot of love for my grandmother.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So then, for women who feel like trauma has stolen years of their life, how can they begin rebuilding themselves without feeling overwhelmed or defeated? Because a lot of times, we want to look at the past, right? And we're basing our present and even possibly our future on the past. And no one in this world goes untainted, so to speak. I mean, we all have come from dysfunction, right? We all have issues from our past. Um, Something like trauma in a sexual abuse situation or physical abuse or even witnessing abuse as a child can really, put some stress and strain on a child, and you might want to not relive it, but revisit that past. And that, in doing that, keeps us stuck and hard to move forward. So, how can women begin rebuilding themselves without feeling overwhelmed or defeated, as that also will cause them to feel very overwhelmed and defeated?
Yeah. The first thing that comes to mind with that is grace, right? Like show yourself grace and have grace for yourself. If you're looking at your past, and I can relate to that, right? Because for a really long time I'm like, am I worthy of better love? That's kind of like all I know. For a really long time, I felt that when a partner would show that like control power, that meant that they loved me, right? It's just like, and if you weren't showing me that, then that means that you don't care about me. But again, it's because that's all I knew. That's kind of how I was raised. That's what I saw. So it was showing myself grace because it's like I didn't know any better, but I want to know better, right? I want to do better. I want to achieve better. I want to, and for me, it's like breaking generational trauma, building generational wealth. I don't come from money, so that's something else that I'm super passionate about is just like building that foundation and educating myself along the way again because I don't come from that. So it's grace. Grace is the word that comes up for me. Don't beat yourself up. Just be graceful with yourself and knowing, okay, I didn't know better. I want better. How can I obtain better? How can I surround myself with people that are in places maybe that, I want to be or like aspire to be or doing the things that I aspire to do. And yeah, that's what I would say to that is show yourself grace. If you're wanting better, you'll get better and you just have to be open-minded and it's tough. It doesn't happen overnight. It does not happen overnight. It takes work and consistency and dedication, but I promise that it gets better.
It's a journey. It's a journey, and grace is very important that we show ourselves grace. I think a lot of times we're showing and giving other people's grace, right, in our lives, but then to give yourself grace is very, very key to being able to grow and move forward. So, what do you think about survivors feeling pressure to be strong, while they're still hurting? How do you define strength now after everything you've overcome?
Well, I mean, that's another good question. I'm like, this is the reason why you do your work, right? How I define strength now is just by who I am. Just being able to reflect on my past and see where I am in my, in the present moment. That makes me feel strong and powerful. The fact that I've been able to accomplish the things that I have accomplished, like personally and professionally. Yeah, it's been again showing myself grace and surrounding myself with people that have been or that are in the places again that I want to be at. And when those feelings of maybe like unworthiness or not having the self-confidence or maybe like do I belong is reminding myself that I do. And even if there's people in rooms that don't look like me, is that reminding myself that it's okay, maybe I'm the first one to do it and reminding myself of the purpose that I have of I remember when I started this journey, I had a vision board and I was like, even if I impact one person, just one person, then I've done my job. And honestly, on the days where I'm maybe feeling defeated, I think of that and I'm like, hey, just one person. That's all it takes. It's just one person and it keeps me going.
It's good. That's really good. I do agree 100%. That's how I've always felt. I mean, when I was doing a lot of posting online, it's like, hey, if, or even my podcast episodes, if it reaches one person, then I've done my job. You know, if the value I add touches the heart of one person, then I'm good. Because something else you said a little earlier, you said that you wanted to, move past and move forward. And I think that's very key too to being strong. If you want to move forward, you'll do it. You have to have that desire. And I think that's really where resilience come in, just believing that I do want to be better. I want to do better. I want to move forward. And I think that is key. Some people, struggle with that. They struggle with moving forward. I don't know that it's not that they don't want to, but don't know how. So, like I can say for me, it's all about resiliency. This thing God gave me that, not giving up, and saying, no, I'm going to get past this. I'm going to keep moving forward. Everyone does not have that. So I think that's part of being strong and you overcome. You know what I mean?
Agreed, and I loved your, response to that, especially the not giving up. Once you said that, I'm over here just, like, nodding away.
Yeah. So,
Because, yeah, that's definitely the desire that I have, and even when on the days I probably feel like giving up, right? Because I feel defeated, I've learned to just sit in my emotions. It's like, "Okay, I'm this is how I'm feeling right now," but I know that in, like, in a day or 2, I'm gonna have that not giving up. It's like, what am I gonna do? Give up and then just not accomplish the things that I want to accomplish, or am I gonna keep going?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And so it's definitely mindset. It's definitely a mindset to say, you know what? Yes, this happened, but this is not the end of my story. This is not the end, right?
agreed, and I think even as you saying that, another, word that comes to mind is faith, right? Having the faith that it is gonna get better because you're doing what you need to do, um, to be able to, like, just better your life. That's definitely gotten me, to where I am in life is having the faith that, like, I know that I'm putting in the work, so
Mhm.
it's going to get better. It has to get better.
Has to. As I heard somebody say, "It's gotta work or it's gotta work." Actually,
Exactly.
that's another podcaster. His name is Neo. Shout out to Neo. It's gotta work or it's gotta work. Period. Right?
That's right.
Yeah. So I know coming from as a child, coming from an abusive, sexually abusive past. Have you seen other multiple forms of um childhood trauma or abuse that is as a
Yeah.
child?
Yeah.
Can you expand upon that? And then what patterns do you think keep women stuck and how they can break free from either generational pain or the multiple forms of abuse?
Yeah, so I was, personally sexually abused at a young age, but I did grow up seeing women in my family being in domestic violent relationships where I saw, women get beat to the point that they're unconscious, and I'm the one calling the cops. Like,
Oh
okay,
my.
yeah. So I've seen abusive relationships between family members, like siblings, mother and son. So I've seen all different
Mhm.
forms. That's why when I said earlier that that's all I knew, literally that's kind of all I knew. Like I have one example, and I thank them like till this day. I love their relationship. I love how they navigate life together. And now that I'm older, I always ask them for advice whenever I get a chance to. Is my aunt and uncle. They were the only example that I had of, okay, the abuse that I'm living is not okay. Just because I'm living it and I kind of see it on a regular doesn't mean that like that behavior is okay and it's allowed.
Right.
They showed me that you can have a healthy relationship where you guys communicate. And till this day, I have never seen my aunt and uncle fight. I have never seen them disrespect each other in public. I have never seen them just be, like rude or any kind of like toxic traumatic behavior with them. It's been all just respect, and they value each other, and they honor each other, and they've had such a beautiful life together that I always go to them to be like, "Hey, what are the key things that have worked in your marriage?" Um
Yeah.
because I'm still, waiting for I do want that. I do want a life partner. I
Right.
try not to let my toxic relationships taint my heart and my desire to be in a loving relationship.
That's good. That's really good. Yeah. So it sounds like some generational things that have happened, and we do, especially as a child, we tend to think not only it's okay, but it's normal until we see something different. What a blessing to have your aunt and uncle in your life so they could show you another side or what true love is, right? And not everybody gets that, but that is a blessing. And definitely, yes, they are your go-to to get some clarity about things in life. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So, if the woman is stuck, can they break free from their generational past of pain? What advice do you have for women that may be stuck?
With breaking free, like I mentioned earlier, it takes time,
Mm.
but my first advice would be community and then also look into therapy, truly, because that's something that I've been going to therapy since I was sexually abused. so as a child, in and on and off, because there was moments in my life where maybe like I couldn't afford it, or things like that. But I would definitely say that because that helps you get out of your head if you're anything like me, right? And know that you can talk about it, and get advice from a professional, and then you're able to start implementing other things in your life, and getting other resources to implement in your life to be able to like have a better life and break free from those generational like trauma that you come from, and if you're wanting better. And I always like to say to parents, because I think oftentimes I'm not a parent myself, but I know that my very, very first traumatic memory was when I was like 3 years old. I saw my mom and her brother fighting, and we were in the Dominican Republic. And every time I say that story, my mom's like, I can't believe that you remember that because you were so young. So I always tell parents that you'll be surprised at what your kids remember and like are is absorbed in their brain. So it's just like you are the example for them. And I know that that comes with a lot of power and maybe heaviness, because I know that for parents that have expressed it that I've been able to talk to. But I always like to say that because it's just like they do see that. So it's just like I saw my mom, right, in very toxic, abusive relationships. I was like, oh, that's normal. That I guess that's okay. And then it's just having that awareness that kids pick up on those things, and then that may become what they allow in the future.
Yes, the community again is one of the major things that we need to look at. And so part of what your organization does is you formed a community at PAQ. Why is it so important for women to heal together? And how can someone find a safe community if they feel alone? Because, I mean, you've got yours, there's plenty, right? There's this podcast, building a community. Why is it so important that women heal together and find a safe community if they feel alone? Because there might be someone out there listening right now who feels alone, who doesn't have a community.
Yeah. It's really important for that not feel alone, because you're already feeling alone in the process, right? And it's important to be reminded of that you're not alone. Our stories are all different, but a lot of the emotions and the things that we feel, or maybe the thoughts that we have, are similar. And I've been able to just see that and notice that, and have within the conversations that I've had, right, with the work that I do. So that's why community is really important. And on the days that again you may feel like giving up, or your energy is low, or you're not motivated, like that's where you're going to find your strength to continue to keep going, and to find a community that feels safe for you. I would just honestly say the same thing I say about therapy, is like you have to kind of like search, right, and be like, okay, let me reach out to this person, or let me ask maybe some of the family or friends that I have if they could recommend anybody, just because that happened to me, especially when I went back to therapy in my like after being I was like 25, 26. I remember going to like 3 or 4 therapists, and none of them felt right. I just felt like I couldn't express myself. They maybe weren't understanding. So it's having to like search, right? And not give up. So that's what I would say. Just like keep searching for a community and you'll find it. I mean, unless you want to be maybe like us, where we're like, maybe I didn't find a community, I'm going to create one.
Right, right.
But yeah,
So
there, like you
yes.
said, there's plenty of communities out there. So I think somebody will definitely be able to find one that where they feel like valued and safe.
Yeah, so the key thing is to just seek it
Yeah,
out. Just seek
yeah.
it out because nobody's gonna save you. You know, you just gotta get out there if you desire to, heal and to go through this life journey in a positive direction, and you want better, you want to have a better life, you want to, heal from those past traumas, you have to be willing to seek it out. And so it takes the responsibility off of who to blame for your trauma and puts it back on you. At this time, it's time for you to say, okay, what am I going to do to make life better for me? And so you do all you can to get the support and find that community.
100%. I like the fact that you mentioned nobody's gonna save you, because I remember for a really long time I was looking for that, or I guess I was like hoping, right? Hoping that somebody was gonna come into my life and save me and kind of like take all the pain away, or like just, and it wasn't until that, like, okay, what is it that I have to do? How can I save myself? And because nobody's gonna make you happy, you have to make yourself happy. So I really like that you mentioned that, because that's a key point as well.
Right, absolutely. So, anytime a woman is gonna blame herself, she's gonna think that, or a child, let's go back to childhood, right? They want to blame themselves for what's happened, even though it was never their fault, right? What do you say to a survivor listening right now who's silently carrying guilt or self-blame?
That it's not your fault. It's not your fault at all. Show yourself grace. I know from personal experience, I tend to beat myself up a lot. And I'll be honest, till this day, I usually like self blame. I'll be like, oh, like, how did you not know better? How did you not like pick up on the red flags? How did you not, And it's just like, that's not going to help you feel better just by coming down on yourself. So, but just know that it's not your fault. You did not deserve all the abuse that you're going through. And I encourage any listener to seek better. If you're in a situation where you feel like your safety is at risk, definitely create a safety plan first. So that way, if you're leaving that, situation, you can do so in the safest way possible. And, community and seek for resources, and all the things that we've mentioned along the way.
Right, absolutely. I think that when it comes to blaming people blaming themselves, when that thought even comes up, I think another thing that can be added to that is forgiving yourself. Like you said earlier, give yourself grace. Forgive yourself. You're not forgiving yourself for what happened. You're forgiving yourself for even thinking that it was your fault. Forgiveness. And moving past, I would say, move past the trauma. Forgiveness should also be part of the equation. Give yourself grace, forgive the offender. And every time that memory comes up, every time you think, what did I do to cause this or what have you? Stop and forgive because forgiveness goes a long way. And how often do we forgive? We keep on forgiving. And I found personally for me, if there was an offense, by someone, and I think about that because you never really forget it, right? And so I think about that person and then I'm getting upset or whatever. I simply right then and there say, okay, no, I forgive them. And then that helps me to move forward, right? And I might have to do it multiple times. And if there's something that, I need to forgive myself for, I forgive myself for that. And just make it a daily habit. What do you think about that?
I love that. I'm over here just nodding away because agreed, 100%
Mhm.
agree with that, the forgiveness part, and even when you said that, it resonated heavily with me because I did have to forgive, right? Because at the end of the day, is forgiveness for myself, because when you hold on to that, you're weighing yourself down, right? Like, you're not harming them. They're living their life, and they're doing the things that they're doing, and it's just like you're carrying that weight with you. So forgiving yourself and right, I know it may be tough forgiving the person that caused, the abuse, but definitely that helped me being like, you know what, I forgive him more so for me, so I can like let go of that weight that like I'm holding on to, and I felt like my heart was just heavy.
Because that helps to ease the burden as well. 100% ease the burden.
Yes.
So, what does reclaiming your crown, your identity as a powerful, authentic queen, really look like in everyday life? And how can listeners start embodying that today?
Oh, another great question. How does that look like for me today? It looks like constantly reminding myself that I am those things, right? But powerful, authentic queen. That if my crown is slipping, to straighten it out,
I love it.
and be like, queen, head up, chin up. You
Yes.
got this.
You can contact Priscilla at powerfulauthenticqueen.com on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify. If you enjoyed this episode of The Katrina Johnson Show, and until next time, stay inspired.